I'm Heath Pearce, former U.S. men's national team player with stops in the Bundesliga, MLS, Denmark, and Sweden. You can predict the Summer Soccer Showcase action all the way to the final match with FanDuel Predicts. All you have to do is sign up to get your $25 bonus. From the opening game to the final whistle, stay locked in with every pass, every goal, and every moment that moves us closer to crowning a champion. Sign up for your $25 bonus on FanDuel Predicts. Go to FanDuel.com/predicts to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/predicts to get your $25 bonus. Listen to Orange Slices, sponsored by FanDuel Predicts, wherever you get your podcasts. Offered by FanDuel Prediction Markets, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant, 18+. Bonus is non-withdrawable and expires 7 days after receipt. Trading derivatives involves significant risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Manage your activity with our consumer protection tools. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/predicts/bonus offer terms. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Orange Slices. Thank you all so much for the nice messages after our hiatus. It's great to be back. And it is great to be back again with you, Mark McKenzie. How are we doing, man? How's your French? You know, we talked a little bit about life in Belgium, but how's your French coming along? Are you trying at least?
French is, yeah, I am. Je vais essayer parler français.
Okay.
Le dernier semaine, fait mon première conférence de presse en français avec traduction. Mais oui. You know, I speak a little bit.
Okay,
you know,
I like that. I like that.
The biggest thing as an English speaker and as an American is like you have to have a bit of confidence with it, not arrogance, but like confidence with it. And I think that's what the
fair.
French will probably respect most.
I mean, honestly, when I was in Germany, same thing. It was just like the act of trying means the fans embrace you, like you're embracing the culture and all those things. When we talked last episode about going to Marseille, and I remember just learning because I was in an Uber all the time of just saying "Ici c'est bon." Like when I was trying to get out of the car, and I was like, you know, even the Uber drivers would turn around and be like, okay, no problem, you know, respect for even saying 3 words. But listen up, we got a great show coming up for everybody. We're going to talk Ligue 1 with Mark, obviously, and his experiences, his world-famous throw-ins. We got to talk about that a little bit more. Your experiences in MLS versus Belgium versus France, and then the 2026 World Cup format. And as well as some of the like quick fire stuff of like banter about the U.S. men's national team group chat. So let's start with Ligue 1, or as it's officially titled, Ligue 1 McDonald's, right? Is that what am I right? By the way, quick, before we get into it, Mark, I remember when my first trip abroad, I was 12 years old, and we went to France. We played in this tournament, and quick story. You know, we went and played in this tournament, and we were changing like our tracksuits with the other teams, and it ended up being a bad situation where I traded with this group because these were like sick tracksuits of these guys, these Adidas ones. And I remember after we were walking around Paris, and I was wearing the new tracksuit, all prideful after this tournament, and people were like, "Dude, you got to take that off." And I was like, "Why?" Apparently, it was this like super nationalist, like racist club. And I was like walking around after trading, and so like I didn't even make it back from France with me. But we went to McDonald's at the end of it, and I remember being shocked, one, of the prices of McDonald's, but two, how good it was in France. And I don't need you to, no free ads on this, so don't speak about McDonald's. But I just had to give that a little bit of some context for me. But for you, you know, what's it been like playing with Toulouse? What's it been like playing in Ligue 1? And for you, you know, has there been any shocking moments where you're like, oh man, and has there, you know, who is maybe a top player that you played against, you go, okay, like I can play with the best in the world?
All right, so we'll start with Toulouse. Toulouse, I have enjoyed being here. I think it was a great step for me, especially coming out of Belgium. I consider Belgium like the little brother to France, if I'm honest, just because it has a lot of the leagues have a lot of similarities, just with styles of teams, maybe not the same quality, but similar styles, similar structures. But France is a step up naturally with offensive transition being so heavily like trained. So yeah, it was a good step because I was able to come in, you know, really assert myself in the group. It's an international locker room as well, so integrating was relatively smooth. You had guys who spoke English, and that helped. French guys gave me crap for not speaking French right away. Like, you spent 3 years in Belgium. I can't believe you don't speak French.
There's a lot of guys that don't speak any English though, right? Or is it, you know?
The craziest part is like I arrived and I was like, I'm gonna learn how to speak French. You know, I'll take lessons. I'm gonna try my best. I'm gonna try to adapt as best as I can. But as soon as I'm like, what happens if you guys French speaking, go to, I don't know, Belgium or to the Netherlands, or to
Anywhere.
Germany, or
Anywhere. Yeah, I mean, it's English or another language, like so.
So I'm like, you're mad at me for speaking in a language that's so widely spoken. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry at the same time. So maybe we need to take English classes as well. I could teach you guys a little English, but yeah, that's aside from it. But yeah, it was a good locker room to come into as well. One where you had guys who were at different levels in their career or in their game. We had young guys who were coming through as well, but I was able to kind of hit the ground running. I played my second game being here in Toulouse, and then from there I've been pretty much a starter for the entirety of my last 2 years.
Huh?
Yeah,
Must be nice. Must be nice.
Listen, look, bro, I put in the work, I'm like, and now, honestly, I'm unked as well, so I think a lot of guys see that, and they're like, oh, okay, you have experience. I'm like, bro, I'm 27, don't call me unk, bro. If I had 28, 29, you can call me unk, but 27, nah, don't call me unk.
But you got the unk beard, you're a dad now,
I do.
You're really calm,
hair, bro.
You're a guy that's just going to be, if somebody invites you over for like a little thing, you're going to be like low maintenance, kick back, quiet.
Bro, I'm like, just put on some throwback, some 2000s R&B, bro, cool, I don't need all that, young child music, ripping and running. I don't need all that, man, I'm laid back, in this era of my life. But yeah, it was a good locker room, and then the team itself, the coach was really dynamic in his game, so he wanted to play in a three. Obviously, we played three center backs, but mobility was huge for him. So being able to step into the midfield and being able to move out as a fullback and play inside as a center back or play on the outside. So I think those abilities or that training with him taught me a lot about how to grow my game, how to play in multiple positions, be adaptable, be somebody who isn't stuck in just one spot on the pitch. So I think he really helped.
Is this
me
the
a lot
coach
in
that's
that.
leaving? Is this the one that's leaving?
Yeah, Carlos.
Because I saw you post on social like a thank you, which is like means you must like. There's not a lot of coaches in my career that I would have reposted. I had way more what I think were poor people managers than good ones. I had a few really good ones that I would have definitely showed some love to and do now in my kind of career after.
You didn't have social media back in the day,
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
We had Facebook, and you had to be connected to your college account, and I wasn't in college anymore, so. No one to talk to.
But yeah, man, I had to show some love. I had to show some love to him, bro. He's a really good like person, and I appreciate that the most about him. He valued us as people before we were players. But yeah, man, he's departed, so got gratitude for the time spent here in Toulouse, under Carlos.
How does Ligue 1 compare, and not in terms of level, but most of these new generation clubs in MLS, like the stadium's packed, the atmosphere is crazy. Like it is a true away game for anybody traveling into a lot of these stadiums. Like the standard is really high. Are most of the stadiums going to be an atmosphere like Lyon or like Marseille, or do you have some of these smaller kind of like countryside type of things where it's not the craziest atmosphere? Sort of give me a few different comparisons in terms of fans, supporters, atmosphere, as well as just your weekly competition.
Yeah, it's I think now you're finding the balance between some clubs who know they're like gonna be in that yo-yo, that we're going up or coming down, we're going up or coming down, versus the teams who are stable, the teams who are gonna be in Ligue 1 again, or the teams who know that we have the quality or the resources to stay up. But you're finding most of them outside of the top six. Most of the stadiums are small, probably 20,000.
My guy has gone so far that 20,000 small now, huh?
Bro.
Madison Square Garden's a small arena for you now, huh?
I know, that was a subtle flex.
Intimate,
honestly,
intimate little 20,000 seater, huh?
Bro, intimate environment. The supporters are right on top of you. You can feel the breath of the guy in the front row. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think like between 18 and 22K, I think is like the average for most of the stadiums. But outside of Paris, Monaco, Lyon, Lille, Marseille, and maybe, I'd say those are probably like the ones with the biggest, if I'm not mistaken. And then you have like the mid table, which are like, again, 20 to 22K. And then you got the bottom of the table, again, all who have similar seating. But the supporters are, if the team is doing okay, they might be there. But I'll give you an example. We played against Mets, and Mets were in last place. Mind you, they actually played good football. You know, we beat them 3-4 or 4-3. I'm using international, the European model of scorelines now 3-4, but we beat them 4-3 at their place.
3-4.
3-4. À l'extérieur, you know. We beat them 3-4, and their stadium is actually nice. Like, you walk in the locker room, you're like, oh snap! Like, this is a nice setup they have. But in the stadium, you just have spots all over the place, empty seats everywhere. And it wasn't until they tied us that you started to feel some energy in the stadium. But it's games like that where, depending on where teams are on the table, you'll get a sold-out crowd versus a crowd that's kind of just there because it's a Sunday afternoon, take the kids, go to the game, it's a local club, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, I think it varies. But now it's more so top six, you're getting great atmosphere, and then anywhere else is kind of hit or miss.
Well, let me ask you this then. Underrated players, right? Because I think MLS is still at a point where you don't really have depth in every position. They're getting deeper, right? I think they're having budgets capable of building more competition in positions. But when I was in Germany, I remember there was me against somebody, and then there was a 17, 18-year-old coming up, you know? And so the competition for spots is different just because you've got someone always coming up behind you. So not necessarily for Toulouse in your position, but in the league, you've got all these players that, you know, we know all the big names that play in Ligue 1, including yourself. But, like, are there any players that are maybe underrated or unheard of that you go, oh, man, like, you know, this player's going to be a baller, or, man, he made my day hard?
Let's see. I think, bro, every team has like, I feel like at least one player that you're like, how is this guy playing at this club? You know, outside, like I said, outside of the top six, you always have a player like that. But I think you have, okay, I'll give you Auxerre. Auxerre, I feel like they have 3 or 4 players who can easily play in bigger clubs. I give you the striker, Sinayoko. He's a guy who's technically very good, finds himself in great spots, can score in the box, outside the box, left foot, right foot, with his head. He's good in hold up. So I think that a striker like that, bro, you match up against him and he causes problems simply because he's so well rounded in his game. And if he played in another team, he'd probably get more attention or more praise. But nonetheless, I think a player like that, he always gives problems. You have, who do we just play? Lorient. Bro, Lorient. They're a team that maybe not the biggest salary, not the biggest names, but, bro, the entire team were constantly in movement. So underrated in their style of play, underrated in their game, but a team that you look across the pitch, you probably can't name their players, but the way they play is like, wow. I don't know how they're in the position, you know, or how they were second division last year, and so yeah. Where
does Toulouse fit? Maybe not historically, because these, you know, you go through different ownership groups and investment, but is Toulouse like an upper mid table? Like, is that considered expectation? And if you're knocking on the door for Europe, then it's a great year. Or I know what maybe the goals of the club are, but generally, you know, all that together.
I'd say Toulouse is probably like mid table, like that 10 position, 11 position. You know, I think that's solid. That's a solid year. Anything above that, you know, we're like we overachieved. But I think just with the budget the club has and the structure, I think that is a solid year. I think going into a season, you come out in 9th, 10th, 11th position. Obviously, you want to finish higher in the table, right? So I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, you know, we want to finish 11. No, that's not the case. But when you look at the whole picture and you take it into perspective, you're like, yeah, I think 9, 10, 11 is like a solid year. And then if you kind of creep above that and start scratching on Europe potentially, you say, you know what, maybe, you know, we did overachieve this year, or maybe we you know, went above expectations. But below that, I don't think we're a team that probably would say it should be. I think it definitely is a league on team, Toulouse, but yeah, mid-solid table, like a Fulham, Brentford, similar. If I can use those in like contextual purposes.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's fair.
That's my analysis.
Okay. All right. Who are you closest with on the team? Like, I mean, you're a dad now, so life is a little bit different, a lot more home life. Because when I was in Germany or in Denmark or Sweden, like, I gravitated towards other foreign players, right, that were maybe as alone as I was. So, go grab a coffee in between when we had double sessions. Who were the, people you like? Are you close to anybody, or are you mostly just like training and then home now?
No, I'd say we have a relatively young team as well, and I try to be young at heart. So we've got probably, Warren Kamanzi. He's one of my boys. Aaron Dunham, who was with me in Belgium. He was in Standard when I was there in Belgium. Charlie Cresswell, him and I are close. We came in the same window. Rasmus Gleisen is another center back. He's Danish. Yeah. If I'm honest, I can go down the list of the group. I'm pretty close with the majority of the team, but I spend the most time probably with Warren, with Charlie, with Sheddle. He's a Norwegian goalkeeper, and Rasmus. I think those four. And now we have the Canadian guy, Jason, which is a point of tension, because we have this back and forth. Oh, Canada, and whose accent's better? And oh no, I know more French than you do, because
it's a lot. It's a lot easier to go. It's a lot easier to spend time in Europe right now as a Canadian than it is as an American. Like Americans aren't the most loved anywhere. I got friends that go there as Americans just traveling, and they say they're Canadian because it's just easier than having somebody tell you everything that's wrong with you and all that,
Bro, I kid you not. He arrived and it was, oh, welcome, man. How you doing? You're Canadian. Oh, cool, man. Yeah, that's cool. Quebecois, French, a little bit. When I came, it was like, oh, here comes the American. Okay. Oh, I am American LeBron James. Oh, look. I'm like, bro, come on, man. Like, give me a chance to at least, assimilate a little bit. Yeah, my first. I walked in the video room. The coach was like, hey, Mark, come give, just an introduction about yourself. Went up there. How you guys doing? My name's Mark. I'm here coming from Belgium. I was there for 3 years. Really excited to be with the group. Really excited to get to work, and I hope we can achieve some really good things this year. Bro, I kid you not. It looked like I was talking to. It looked like they understood absolutely nothing that I said. I had guys looking sideways. When guys start going, hey, did you? I'm like, bro, I didn't even think I was talking fast. The French team, the striker, Frank, comes over and said, bro, you need to slow down. Slow down. Doucement. I said, come on. Have you had that experience at all? When you were in Germany, did you have guys who kind of looked at you sideways simply because you spoke maybe a bit too fast, or your accent was not as clear as they anticipated?
Oh, yeah. All the time. I mean, in Denmark and Sweden, it was different because when I wanted to learn the language, they wouldn't let me because people were like, no, we know English, we're proud, we want to speak it. And an American or a Canadian is like, oh, this is great, I get to practice, right? But in Germany, I remember the first day I went into a grocery store and I was like thinking, oh, this is just like, it's just across the water from Copenhagen. I'm like, and the people in the grocery store when I was speaking English to them just looked at me like, we don't do any of that. You're gonna have to learn this language if you want. You want to ask me where the fruit is? You better learn how to ask me in German. And then same thing in the club. There was, at the time too, it was obviously a different generation because I was in former East Germany. So if you were 18 and under at that time, you spoke English in school, you were learning it. But anybody above that, like, unless there was some unique reason or you were well traveled, like most people didn't speak a lot of English. So there was times when I would speak and people would be like, just, hey, relax, and I'm like, I'm just talking normal. But I get it. It's an odd feeling when you get those stares from the crowd and go like, what's going on?
Bro, that sideways look, that blank stare. Like, I've just been talking for 30 seconds and I said absolutely not. Like, you know what? Now I got to start speaking broken English. We talked about it before on, broken English. Start talking to my family in broken English.
Patois, you got it.
Yeah, bro, it's not even patois anymore. And then it was just like, how are you? Where is Apple?
Yeah. But have you gone into the national team? Because this used to happen all the time, right? Is like you go into the national team and somebody's like, yo, why are you talking like that, you know? Why are you saying like, come, we go, you know? Like we make coffee, you know? Like cutting out all the words. There's a simplicity to that, and there's like it's endearing. But when you get around the boys again, they're just like, yo, what's wrong with you?
Bro, you touched down, now you can't even speak English. Like, bro, you've been there a month, man. Like, what you doing?
Yeah.
But yeah, that broken English is, even my mom I was on FaceTime with her speaking broken English. She was like, honey, you need to, I don't know what's going on, but you
need Jesus.
Okay?
You need Jesus.
Like, what is going on? Like, you are going through it.
Yeah. I'm Heath Pearce, former U.S. men's national team player with stops in the Bundesliga, MLS, Denmark, and Sweden. You can predict the Summer Soccer Showcase action all the way to the final match with FanDuel Predicts. All you have to do is sign up to get your $25 bonus. From the opening game to the final whistle, stay locked in with every pass, every goal, and every moment that moves us closer to crowning a champion. Sign up for your $25 bonus on FanDuel Predicts. Go to FanDuel.com/predicts to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/predicts to get your $25 bonus. Listen to Orange Slices, sponsored by FanDuel Predicts, wherever you get your podcasts. Offered by FanDuel Prediction Markets, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant, 18+. Bonus is non-withdrawable and expires 7 days after receipt. Trading derivatives involves significant risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Manage your activity with our consumer protection tools. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/predicts/bonus offer terms. Hey, Toulouse is owned by an American company, Redbird Capital. Did that play into you being American? You're pretty savvy, right? You're doing media. You're a savvy investor. Have you met them? Have you had conversations with them? Did it play into it, or were you just like Mark McKenzie, the footballer, and it just so happened that there's an American ownership group, Redbird Capital, also owned Milan, and big investment firm. Has there been any connection, or is it just...
No, if I'm honest, I've never met anybody from Redbird that I know of. And if I have, I apologize in advance. But yeah, it was solely the project, solely the coach. We had conversations, Sport Eric and I, and figured it was a really good landing spot for me, to come in, play, step up from Belgium, and see where I could, put in work, see where I stood in regard to maybe some other players in my position and across the different leagues. But yeah, I don't think I don't believe I feel bad if I did. You know what I mean? Like American abroad, the owners of the company. Sorry if I met anybody from Redbird again, but yeah, it did that. Wait,
are there any other Americans in Toulouse, the city, that were like, yo, because like that was a thing that I experienced, and I was never really drawn towards hanging with Americans. It was like, if you're a vibe, you're a vibe. We've talked about this before, but do you run into Americans in Toulouse in general that are like either, dual nationals or somebody living there or whatever?
Bro, it's only because Airbus is here. If I'm honest, Airbus is for anybody who doesn't know, Airbus is like a big aviation company. They handle a lot of engineering for a lot of these three, Boeings and whatnot. But yeah, that's the only time I run into Americans, or they'll be on vacation. They come over here I don't know how Americans, for all those listening, I don't know how you guys end up in Toulouse, by the way, because it never crossed my mind, like, oh, let me pop over to Toulouse on vacation. I'm on holiday in Europe. Let me just, go to Toulouse. But yeah, credit to you guys. And it was great to meet all of you who I did end up meeting out here in Toulouse.
Hey, you sold us on 300 Days of Sun, and then our 4 soccer crew came out to film with you, and they said it was miserable.
Bro, it was dreadful, bro. I kid you not. I loved it, bro. I love the 4 soccer crew, and I have so much respect for them for actually taking that journey and experiencing the complete opposite of what I was sold. Even
JJ was like, yo, I gotta go because like it's a short turnaround, and he's selling me hard on why he's got to go on this trip to make sure it works out, and like he came back traumatized.
Bro. I was sitting out there and I remember I looked at JJ and I was like, bro, this guy This guy just experienced like just a full on. He could have stayed in. If he wanted to go with the cold, he could have stayed in New York for that matter, and just
Oh, he's from the Palm Desert. He's from the desert here in California.
So,
you know what I mean? Like that's not his.
I felt, and it was windy, and I was like, oh my gosh, bro! I sold these guys on an absolute dream because I got sold on the 300 days. But yeah, listen, if you guys want to come back out for soccer, for anybody out there. We're going to put it on Heath's tab, and we're going to make sure you guys get, some of that real Toulouse weather because I need to make up for it. You know what I mean? So don't come in that period anymore. But yeah, come like July, August. That's a really good really good time of year. Yeah. But you experienced plenty of cold in your time in Germany, I'm sure. It's just like Belgium.
Yeah, when the budgets went away in the Bundesliga, and we were doing like our winter training camp in our town, and we're running on the beach, and it's like iced over on the beach at like 5 o'clock in the morning. You realize real quick how nice it was to like go to Dubai for a training camp, go to summer in Austria for like some team building stuff. But you realize real quick how cold it can get when you gotta sit in it. Hey, Arsenal famous for set pieces, long throws, corner kicks. You're an Arsenal guy, right?
Yeah, I am.
We're in a good place right now, man. We're in a good place. We're not going to talk too much about that because we still got work to do. Yeah. But with all that and the specialization of like set pieces, right? Clubs have set piece coach now. They have like even a lot of MLS teams now have a set piece, and you're starting to see these variations. And the long throw, like I was a long throw guy, but you are a bomb. Long throw guy, yeah. So much so that the club puts out like mixtapes of your long throws. Is that a natural thing from playing sports, or is this like I don't exactly see you in the lab hammering balls against the wall to get more distance on your throws?
Bro, I kid you not. I literally all last season I threw the ball in like just throw it to the guy. It was nothing like crazy, but yeah, we came in this year and they were like, oh, we need to try out long throw. Let's see who can throw it the farthest. And one guy picks it up, throws it, and then another guy picks it up. They're like, "Oh, Mark, you can probably throw it far. You're American. You're quarterback." Ha 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 ha. I was like, I mean, maybe, yeah. I kid you not, I took the ball, I chucked it, bro. They were like, "Oh, all that season, you don't tell us nothing. You tell us nothing about you can throw it long. Oh, we wasted a full season. We could have been ahead of this." I was like, bro, nobody ever asked. I'm like, you just have to ask.
Bro,
like,
what are you supposed to do? Like, what are you supposed to do? Go in and knock on the coach's door. Hey, I got an idea. I got a long throw in, coach. Like, imagine, like, you could be, I would say 80% of coaches, and the game's changing. We'll talk about how set pieces have changed here in a second, but, like,
yeah,
the idea of, like, saying, like, the hand up, being like, I got a long, like, the, like, old school, like, youth sport. Hey, coach, I got a long throw. I could do this, Sub me in, coach. I got the long throw,
Bro, I'm not going up to him. I'm not in the huddle talking about, hey, coach, you know what? Maybe we should try a long throwing, coach. Let me give it a shot, coach. I think it could be a real weapon for us. No, I'm not thinking about that. I'm like, bro, we're trying to win games, bro. I'm not thinking about all this. So, it's corner kicks, it's free kicks, it's, timing of the runs, this, that, and the other. And yeah, this season we just picked up the ball and they were like, just throw it far. And I was like, cool. So I threw it far. And now, we see how throwing it far has changed the game tremendously, even though it's not really like an art that's brand new to the game. It's just kind of died out and now it's come back. So yeah, I'm not training in the gym. Everybody asks me, oh, McKenzie, tu as une longue touche. I'm like, yeah, it's a long throw. Do you train your long throw? How do you do it? I'm like, bro, I pick up the ball and I just think about throwing it as far as I can. Quite literally, it's that simple.
Yeah, dude, you've had the double sessions and whatever where you guys are playing a little handball or basketball, and you see some of the boys, and you're like, bro, you got no chance to throw that ball far, Like when if you handle, sometimes I watch these, and you golf now. I'll see these with tennis. You'll see these coach instructors from Europe be like, yeah, you're like, you're the way you're working your wrist in golf or tennis is like throwing a ball. And you see some of these Europeans doing it, and you're like, no, that's not how you throw a ball, though. And so,
No, I'm not rolling my wrist like this. I'm like, bro, I'm taking the ball, and I'm like, all right, how far can I put this thing? Like, all right, if that's the box there, I want to go past that point there. So visualization. You know, think about it. And eventually, you know, your body get to it. But yeah, man, it's did you? Okay. Be real here though. Be real. Like, how far do you think you could go? If somebody told you back in like HP in your prime, how far?
I'm near post every time. Like, I couldn't go beyond. Like, if I got a hold of it, you know, I would go past that. But I would have people lining up at the near post for like a flick on. But I'm not putting it mid to like the back post where like we're challenging for headers or something like that. Like, for sure I could get it there. What I would say though is the worst is that you got a wet ball on a rainy day and you're pushing everybody. Nah, deeper, you know? It's like, you know, keep going. And then when that once in a while that you don't get a hold of it well and it falls like 15 feet deep, it's like an air ball.
Bro.
It's like an air ball. You know, it's the worst feeling in the world, especially when you're pushing it back, being like, no, come on. Like, we're turning this into like a set piece thing, and you throw it and it's like 10 yards to the ground. And now your team's out of position, and everybody's like, yo, what was that? The fans start, you know, whistling and stuff.
Bro, it is so deflating. Like, I had that happen 2 times this year. It was, I think one was, okay, I'll start with, I think the near post is like the best place to go, because the near post is where a lot of chaos happens. You know, if it gets flicked on by a defender, if it gets flicked on by your teammate, this, that, and the other. So near post, for anybody who's training long throws, work on near post, because that is going to be your sweet spot. If you can get it farther than that, congrats. But the goalkeeper's more than likely going to catch it, or he's going to go for it, get fouled, and then at least if he's in France, you know, if you touch every single time, it's a foul. But second, I had it happen against Paris FC. Bro, when you set the bar for like how far you can throw it, or how well you can do something, people expect it every time. And especially when it's with your hands, I was like, all right. I really like my teammates are asking me to throw it to the second post. You know what I mean? Like middle goal. Like, I've done it a few times. I kid you not, bro. I got my run. That ball barely made it to the side of the line of the box, bro. It was like, and I'm so glad the guy like one touched it right back, clearance right back to me, and it was another throw. And I looked at the bench because the bench was right behind me, and the guys were just cooking me. I was like, oh shit. So yeah. The next one, I just threw short. I threw it short to the guy, the midfielder who was right there. I was like, you know what? Let him cross the ball. I need to recover from this. It's deflating.
So let's talk about 48 team World Cup. You know, like for me, I was just talking to somebody tomorrow. This
before
morning.
You start, do you like it? Do you like this format, or is it a no? You prefer the traditional, you know, keep it at the 30, was it 36?
32.
32.
I everything I've ever known is 32, and it seemed just fine. Now you're in Europe, so you know all the time you have teammates from Denmark, you have teammates from wherever that qualifies sparingly, right? Denmark goes out in the playoff, and you go, okay, Europe is so strong that there is teams that belong in the World Cup in terms of quality, but don't because of the amount of spots they get. This expanded one, and we talked about this on the last episode, right? The modern game has changed at the international level. Most of them are organized, they're disciplined in a different way, there's not as many gaps as before, and they're playing the game differently, right? And just the general quality has lifted. So I hope that there's not a dip in quality where you see a few of these beatdowns. I don't love 48 teams. I love the idea of it just because you're bringing a wider fan base, you're giving more opportunity. It did seem a little bit like curated to you know, the few and mighty. So I like the idea of introducing more, but I'm a bit worried about the quality of product in the end, right? And so looking at the U.S., I'm like, what's the pathway now? We have to figure that pathway out of the group and whatnot. Maybe takes away some of the. I mean, there is the group of death with I think it's France and Norway and.
France, Norway,
and no, it's like Cameroon, maybe Senegal. Yeah.
Senegal.
And like that's brutal, but like generally it seems pretty decently balanced across the board. But for you, like, I'm not getting you in hot water for asking this question, but like, what do you think of 48 teams?
it makes the tournament longer. Okay, so that's first. But maybe it's more entertaining for the people. You know, you have more support from other teams. You had 16 more teams, so it's like, oh, okay, 16 more teams. So you're like, oh, great. You know, 16 more nations, 16 more nations full of fans, this, that, and the other. I'm like similar to what you said. I'm kind of tossed about it. Does it have much implication on what we have to do? Not necessarily. It's like you still have to win your matches and then get out the group, and then from there you go on and go on. Maybe the journey to the final is a bit different than it would be before, or the journey to whatever rounds there are. But
you don't care. You're in the national team now. You don't care. You're like, you can make it 252 teams as long as I'm on the roster for one of those. Like, that's where I would be thinking right now. I was like, I'd be like, well, if there's 48 teams, you need to increase the roster size to 35, you know? Like,
Listen, I was getting the professional answer, bro. I think I was just kind of skating around it. But, yeah, bro, it's whatever. You know, what does Shannon Sharp say? He's Lakers in 5. You know what I'm saying? So, but, yeah, I think 48, it'll just increase the size of the tournament. More spectators, more people to come out to watch and whatnot, more people to fill the stadiums. So, yeah, I think it'll be entertaining, but also now with the third place. I think the third place situation makes it also very interesting because I think this tournament you had teams who maybe thought they would dominate more, end up in third place, and now that third place run is you get some big names, you know, or some big countries head to head on the rounds following the group. So, yeah, honestly, don't really care. It's just make sure, you know, I got to make sure I'm on that roster, and then from there, you just got to handle business.
Do you have any World Cup memories that have shaped you? Like anything that like sticks out in your head of like maybe not life shaping, but like, you know, call it like a Polaroid that you think when you think about a World Cup, maybe your mind goes to.
Yeah, I think honestly, John Brooks' header. I think that's one. I think because he was a young guy, got his opportunity with the national team, and scored in such a big moment. I think that was special, especially as a defender. Another one I'd say is probably Tim. Tim Weah scoring in this last World Cup. I think coming up with a guy, growing up with Tim since we were, 9 years old, 10 years old, and seeing the dream of playing in the World Cup and then ultimately scoring in the World Cup come to fruition for somebody who's so close to you. I think that was special as well. But yeah, I think those are probably two that stick out most for me. You have the landing goal, you have the Clinton goal against was it Ghana. So yeah, I think those two stick out most. But obviously, there's probably 4 or 5 that I could go back to and say, oh wow, that's special.
Yeah.
For you when you're okay, so we both understand like having to watch the World Cup from a different position, right? Having helped the team get there, having experienced qualification or experienced the matches leading up to the World Cup and coming up just short. When you were watching the matches, what was your mindset like? You know, are you watching the game as a supporter? Are you watching it as like a player who's, you know, been in that position? Are you watching it strictly third party, like I don't care? You know, are you watching it as, you know, I need the guys to do better, I'm gonna call them after the game? Or you know, what was it like for you when you were watching those moments or those games, especially in the World Cup?
Yeah, so for me, 2006, I was just coming into national team, so I was just excited to be like connected to that group, right? I went similar to you. You go from like college kid to pro to national team, and you're like, man, this is unreal. Like, I'm just like, you know, the old you would have been like, I just got to the national team. Like, that's mission accomplished. And so I was excited but disappointed in that, like, you come out of 2002 and then you go to 2006 and the team doesn't do well. And then for 2010, like, you know, 2008 I was the most capped player in the national team. 2009 I was a regular. So to go into 2010, it was like a momentum that I was like, I'm going to be there. And so it took me a long time to let that go. And so I would have these mixed emotions that were hard for me to watch. Like, I couldn't watch games with people. I couldn't be like, you know, I was the first player from the national team to join American Outlaws way back in the day.
Oh, wow.
And so I was like, I was all about because bringing soccer to my hometown and American Outlaws were a big part of like bringing people together to celebrate. And I remember thinking like, I can't be around any of these people. Like I want to be a fan, but I've got too much to work through in terms of I want to be there. I should have been there. Also a bunch of my friends are playing. I want them to do well. And so working through all that. So when the U.S., ends up drawing with England in 2010, that's when I sort of relaxed and was like, okay, we're back to being a fan again. Let's enjoy this journey. Let's enjoy this ride. And so I tried to watch it as much as I could as a fan of like, the young kid in me. And I kept having to go back to that, like in full transparency. Like I'd go into this really angry mode of like, what could have been? What could I have done differently? What could I have fixed? Or what would have given me a better chance? Or could anything have given me a better chance? And then I would just kind of go back to being like, man, this is the U.S. Like you're one of the few that's gotten to wear the crest, and this thing is playing. And so I was going through it a lot, but I would always kind of default back to being like a fan. But I was kind of watching most of things, most of the games, all the other games in the World Cup. Loved them, but for the U.S. games, it was a lot of emotion to work through. But I'd always try to like have presence of mind to go back to being just a fan. If that makes sense.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And
No,
I mean, was it similar for you, or was it like did you get the freedom to for 22? I was at the World Cup, right? I was in Qatar. I went to round of 16, quarterfinals, semifinals. But for you, a very different. I got to do that as a fan in random games. But for you, like, did you have that freedom to watch other games? Was it different when the U.S. played?
It was bittersweet, right? Because similar to all that you just said, you're so close to it because you spent so much time with the group. You spent so much time with the players. You traveled with the guys. You're playing in matches head to head. And then to be on the outside looking in, it made it feel like, man, I was so close. What did I not do to solidify myself as deserving of an opportunity to be there? Sometimes it's not even necessarily something that you did or didn't do. It was just a decision the coach made. He preferred this player over this player, this profile over that profile. But I ended up going home. I came back to the States because we had off for the break because it was in November, the 22 World Cup. So, yeah, it was hard because I was with my family. My family took it very hard. Having seen the grind of going through qualification and seeing the grind of going from MLS to Europe and the grind of then having the opportunity to play in Europe and then going into that 22 season feeling like it was the best form that I had been in since I had touched down in Europe. I was playing every game. We were winning. I was playing well in those matches. And I then played came on with the national team, those, I think it was September and October camps. And you get that feeling of like you're so close to it. And you think back on the experiences playing away in Honduras and then the loss away at Panama and then playing against
the trenches, bro. You're in the trenches.
Bro, bro, those CONCACAF matches of like qualifying and what it is and hostile crowd. Then you're in the hotel and the hotel is hot because the AC isn't working, or you got fireworks outside, or the bus ride to the game you're literally sitting on a bus that it looks like the fans outside could just reach inside the bus and grab you out, and take your clothes. So it's those experiences that I thought back to and like, wow, you were so close. Like, what happened? And my family knew that as well. My family experienced that, and they struggled with it for a period of time. So I couldn't really watch games with everyone together because it's created that dynamic of tension of, when we're watching the U.S., like, you should be there. And I didn't want to keep hearing that because I was already distraught about it. But when I watch by myself, it becomes this thing of you fought with those guys, you grinded with them, and now you've had the opportunity, like you said, to be part of the national team and to help get the team to where it is. Now it's a matter of switching that mentality of, pity me to, I want the best for the group. I want them to be as successful as possible because that's going to create something maybe better for the future for this team, and God willing, I'll be part of that. And in 4 years' time, I want to make sure that I don't sit here and look back on wishing negative or wishing bad for the group when I could have been pushing, in a different way. So, yeah, it was that kind of push and pull, but I had to watch the game solo when I was home, and then when I got back, the other games, I was just expecting. I was enjoying.
I think the hardest part when family tries to console you, right, is when you watch a game with family, they'll be like, yo, that dude sucks. And you're like,
bro,
you know, like you should, like, you could, I mean, if it was just about a guy passing the ball out of bounds, you could do that, you know, and like, and your friends, and you get all the hardest part is you get all the texts of like, bro, you should be there, you know, and like, you want to kind of sulk in that for a bit, but at the same time, it's kind of like, you know, anybody who's reached the highest level, you're so self-critical that you've lived the trauma a million times in your head, right? And then when somebody is like either adding to that or trying to take away from that, it's just like a distraction. And like my family, like even throughout most of my career, found it really hard to connect with me because they'd be like, oh, you know, you go to dinner after a game and they'd be like, man, what did you think? Or what? And you're just like, first of all, I'm tired. I don't want to talk about it. Second, win or lose, I don't want to talk about it. And, you know, like, this is my job. Like, the last thing I want to do is, like, get out of my job and then go talk about my job, especially with, my
job, right.
Yeah, the intensity of all that. And so I've always had that struggle with family and friends who are, like, you know, trying to, like, be there for you, trying to connect with you. And, like, I would just mostly shut it all down because I'm like, I'm reliving. You know, when the game ends, I'm reliving every pass that I made. Every good ball, every bad ball, every chance I could have made, every cross I could have done better. Like, it is just snapshots over and over in your head, and that's how you kind of mentally train. That's how that takes you then onto the field and all those things. And so, did you feel that at all? Like, of just like that difficulty of like, I'm not trying to be rude or mean, but like, I also am like, anything you're going to say, I've already said 1,000 times in my head.
Yeah, it's because they're coming from a place of endearment, right? They're coming from a place of trying to support you and trying to help you along in the process, to care for you, to show you love, to empathize with you. But in reality, I really just want to detach altogether, right? I want to disconnect from the training sessions that I've gone through the whole week to get to the match at the end of the week, to then talk about the 90 minutes of the match that I probably don't want to talk about anymore, because I just want to enjoy my chocolate sundae or my cake, you know, that grandma's made that I've been, you know, looking forward to all week. Yeah, so it's that, and it's hard because you love them and you don't want to come off as like, I don't need you guys and I don't appreciate the sentiments, but at the same time, there's already enough, you know. Yeah. There's already enough going on. There's already people from the outside telling you what you could have done better and what you should have done better, and those people then compile it because now with social media, my family has social media, so my family goes see the comments, and then they go and see the retweets, and then they say, "Oh, well, they think you did so good," and "Oh, they think you did so bad."
They see my burner account saying, "Mark is trash. Mark is trash."
Bro, they're looking at who is user 548 LA boy surfer, you know what I mean? Like, so it's, you know, and again, social media I think adds on to that layer as well, because everybody's so connected, but. You know, for me, it was trying to figure out ways to completely, and I think my family's learned that now about me, of when I don't want to talk about it, I just won't talk at all. Yeah. And they get the feeling of it's not the time, it's not the place. If I want to talk about it, I'll talk about it. But in reality, I've been doing this long enough, you know, that I hope you guys trust my judgment on this. I hope you guys understand that it's not because I don't appreciate it, but I'm the professional here, respectfully. And I got enough criticism or enough judgment as it is going through, not only from outside but in my own head. You know, I gotta quiet all these voices.
Right. Well, let's you know, we got in some really good topics which I could elaborate on all day, just because like it's fun to share these with an audience to kind of give an insight into what you go through on a regular basis. But let's wrap this episode up on a lighter note. And for everybody that's listening, the show is back. This is episode 2 of this brand new run. We're going to start getting guests in very, very soon to come join the conversation and be part of this. But, you know, Mark and I had to work through some stuff and get back into a rhythm again and catch up on some topics. So we'll get to all those guests in the coming days and weeks. But let's chat about the group chat. Is it still live? Is it still active?
It is. Yeah? It is. It is, man. It is. Like, you come out of camp, you know, in the first half of the season, where you have September, October, November, you're there together a lot. Yep. And then you have that 4-month gap in between. So Well, 4 months in between until the March camp, and then you have another 2 months in between until the June camp. So you got to keep the group chat alive, man. And even if it's just, an old chat, you just throw in a random GIF, a random, picture of somebody, a random meme. I think that keeps things fresh and lively. But we have, from the Gold Cup, we've got quite a group chat as well, with several guys that is alive and well. It's quite enjoyable to connect with the guys, but also to talk some crap on each other. To when somebody's got a clip, that is just like why would you do that? Or even just a moment of they're trying to be as serious as possible, but you can't take them serious because they're not serious at all.
And I don't know if you want to name them, but like, who's sensitive in the group chat? Because there was a couple guys on the national team that like had the banter and then like didn't know how to banter back. They couldn't take it, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, well how about your grandma? All right, oh that's right, she's dead." And you'd be like, "Bro, where'd that come from?" You're like, that's not what we're joking about. Like you just took this like banter and then made it very personal. Is there anybody that's sensitive? Is there anybody that's like the most antagonistic in there that's just going after everybody?
No, I think I gotta say, we've got a pretty lighthearted group of guys. Every now and then you may get like, somebody won't fully understand the joke. And you're like, bro, why is he bringing my name up? Like, what did I do how did I get dragged into this? It's like, bro, it's okay. It's just a joke, So I won't drop names, we'll talk off the mic, but yeah, you got a few guys every now and then who just won't catch up on the joke, and sometimes it's a cultural thing, they may not have understood it before, or from East Coast jokes to West Coast jokes, it's just different, it's just how it is, but yeah. You always have that. I think anywhere you'll have that.
Is there any name you can rely on that when you wake up in the morning, the group chat, you see the bubbles of the amount of volume that is like, when they're after training or they're on on the bus on the way to a game, or anytime they're on the training table, that you just go, man, they are flooding the chat.
I wouldn't say flood, but they know how to. That they're a catalyst, on how to get the group chat going again. Chris Richards is one of them. He's a guy who he knows just what to say, what picture just to post, to get a reaction. The timing of it, his comedic timing is very good. I must say. Another one is Brendan Aronson and Paxton Aronson. Those two guys. They go
after each other, or they're just like active in their own ways?
No, it's just active in their own ways. They'll have a moment of just like what was going on, or just with lingo now. Like there's this what the skibbity, what the skibbity, or what skibbity toilet riz, all those young slang terms that honestly I have no 6-7's another one that they just throw in randomly, and it sends the group into hysteria because
I love that. All right, well, let's wrap up this episode. Again, I appreciate you making the time and catching everybody up, and also giving some insights. It's fun to share some stories of kind of shared traumas, but shared experiences, shared excitement. But just for everybody again that's listening or watching, we will have our next episode coming out on Tuesday. So we're going to be publishing as often as possible on Tuesday, Thursday, and then we'll find a third episode that we're going to sneak in for you guys as a bonus episode, depending on guests and availability and all those things in the coming weeks. But on behalf of myself and Mark McKenzie, as well as our production team, both Blair and Michael, appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Appreciate you guys watching, listening, and if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and throw a comment in if you find us on social media. We're getting all that stuff going for you guys again, just to keep this conversation going around the clock. And again, appreciate all of you for being a part of this journey.